So ladies and gentlemen, we're now coming to the next panel discussion, the CMO panel discussion. And as we step into a time of unprecedented changes in the world of sales and marketing, what does the future look like for today's marketing and agency leaders? How are they navigating the change, especially in terms of developing new creative capabilities? So now we're going to join the CMO panel discussion where the seasoned brand leaders will discuss the modern definition of creativity in brand communication. And for that, I'd like to invite our panelists on stage, Mr. Nguyễn TOAN, Executive Vice President of Marketing of Suntory PepsiCo Vietnam, Mr. James GRIFFIN, Vice President Marketing, Beauty and Personal Care of Unilever, Co-Chair of MMA Vietnam, Ms. Hà Tạ, Senior Business Director of FrieslandCampina Vietnam, and Ms. Anna BIZON, Marketing Director of Heineken Vietnam. And also, I'd like to welcome our moderator, Mr. SOAMES HINES, CEO of Ogilvy Group Vietnam. So ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to dive into the realm of creativity, priceless strategies for thriving in modern marketing realities. Over to you, Mr. SOAMES HINES.
I didn't think for 1 minute that TOAN would miss the opportunity of being on a panel, but I might be wrong. Apparently TOAN is on his way, correct, Jessica? He's on the way, so we'll buy a little bit of time until TOAN from PepsiCo joins us. But good afternoon and welcome to this panel discussion. I'm joined on stage by some of the most seasoned marketing leaders. TOAN, come and join us. Just in time. Just in time. Round of applause for TOAN.
It's what you call an entrance.
Yes. Welcome. Good to see you. Nice to see you. So as I was saying, joined, I think, by a list of marketing leaders here. So first of all, we could welcome Ha, who is the marketing leader at FrieslandCampina.
Hi, Sam. Hi, everyone.
Anna BIZON, marketing leader at Heineken.
Hello.
James GRIFFIN, or Griff, marketing leader at Unilever. Hello. And TOAN Nguyen, marketing leader at PepsiCo Suntory, or Suntory PepsiCo. Just on time. Save the best till last. There we are. So we're going to discuss leadership in an era of unprecedented change. And for those of us that have been in the business a little while, I believe we're about to enter a period of change that is change on steroids, like nothing we have ever seen before. And it's going to be exhausting, and it's going to be daunting, because there is going to be so much change, so much opportunity. How are we going to navigate that change? So I want to split the discussion into two parts. Firstly, talking a little bit about some of the changes that are going to be taking place. Not necessarily about AI, although AI will be driving a lot of the changes, but what are the consequences that we're going to face, particularly in the area of sales, marketing, and creativity. So what are the changes that are coming? We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then the second part of the conversation to talk about, okay, as leaders, how do you lead an organization, how do you lead teams in a period of unprecedented change? So let's maybe start off talking about some of the changes that are coming. Maybe we start at a broader societal level. Lots going on in the world, but here in Vietnam, what are some of the big changes that do you think are going to impact Vietnam as a society, people more in general? And maybe I'll start with you, Anna, if I may, without putting you on the spot.
Yes, great. You know, for me, when you ask about the change, what is the biggest change? The biggest change is change, yes? And I think accepting the fact that things are changing with such speed, because I think the things has been changing always. But the speed of the change, which is very much driven by all the macro volatility, which we cannot control, I think the moment when we accept it's a new normal, and the moment when we acknowledge also that everything we know, being the experts in certain categories for many years, so I'm 25 years in beer business, today I challenge myself a lot about, is my experience really helping me or is it trapping me into the certain thinking? So I really think that the biggest change as a society, which we will here, let's say, face, is the life in constant change, which will impact our mental health to the high extent, and finding the way in it will be critical. I think the health and wellness as a trend, especially after COVID big thing happening in Vietnam, then the aging of the society. When I was in Europe, it was, you know, every society in Europe is aging. When I was moving to Vietnam, such a young, fantastic society. When you observe the data now, 34, 55, getting out of this range already, yes? So I think you can see even eldering is happening here, and the female power, and this is something for what I'm very grateful it's happening also very strongly in Vietnam. I think it's another element, and of course technology with the AI. So for me this is like from the micro going down.
Very interesting, also very concerning. I mean, there's a broader societal changes certainly going to impact. It's going to be a very unsettling time with all of that change going on. Harv, what about you? What are the things that worry you, or perhaps don't worry you, but make you optimistic about the future at a societal level?
Well, I think you start with already it's changing. Now, I think all of us talking about a terrible 2023. I think most of us feel related, and a gloomy 2024 outlook. Against all of us working, whatever business or industry you work, the consumer is the heart of what we do. And then all the change impact directly, of course, to our consumers. We're looking at Vietnam overall, retail sales and services in 2023, even a single-digit growth, but still much lower than what we got pre-COVID. And then we look at the very short term of all the bonus cut in 2024, which immediately impact on the consumption for Tet. So we already, the number just come out that so that all the FMCG sales for Tet is declined versus 2023. So those are really close to us, close to what we are doing every day. So all of us, I think it will be very familiar to all of us that we planned. So when we start our planning in Q3 of last year, now we probably already start replanning because of all this change. Now the results, Q1 already come out. Of course we have to change, right? We cannot just continue with our plan that we already built from Q3 2023. So I would say everything will impact.
Okay, so again, a very unsettling period. James, what about you? What's keeping you up at night?
Well, I don't know if this is keeping me up at night. I would actually go bigger picture to begin with, which is as humans, at a micro level, we tend to be incredibly pessimistic. Actually, collectively, we're incredibly optimistic. The human spirit is quite incredible for overcoming any kind of challenge. So when we're looking into an uncertain future that we have no clue exactly how it's going to shape up, that always seems very weird. One fact it's worth thinking about is we have more people living on the planet now than we've ever had before at any one time. Now, what does that mean for us? From a business opportunity, that's more mouths to feed, that's more bodies to clean. Honestly, that is actually an opportunity for phenomenal growth. And as an average, we are healthier, living longer, and actually better off on average than ever before. So from a consumption point of view, for a lot of us based in consumption-based industries, that's an incredible opportunity. We shouldn't miss it in all of the challenges rightly we face. And in Vietnam, that's definitely the case. And the next decade almost certainly will see the continual rise of growth, which we as an industry need to get all over. But I think it's then the click down underneath that becomes interesting. Because with more people living on the planet than ever before, the stress on the planet. We hear a lot about climate change. I'm always amazed how little we hear about feeding the world, for example. And we actually heard earlier on with the pictures of Nescafe around damage that can happen to soil, etc., across the world. So the stress on the environment will be more than we've ever had before, that without climate change added on as well. So how we manage that is quite a challenge, and how we as an industry then service all of that need without damaging or causing permanent damage to the world and to Vietnam is important. But then from a consumer point of view, I think you will see more polarization. It's inevitable that the world that's being created in front of us, that we're part of creating, will create haves and have-nots. And that will be a big point of debate. And obviously as an industry, how we serve both is going to be hugely important.
Yeah. TOAN, why don't you build on that?
Hi everyone, sorry for being late. Yeah?
Just in time.
Yeah, just in time. Yeah. Actually, it's early 15 minutes, the session. So, I think just I share one of my experience 12 years ago. Yeah, I studied about machine learning. I study a lot of things about that, a lot of new way. I study about what is the big 500 company that change the game of the world. And I'm stressed for 6 months. I'm asking myself, what should I do in the next coming years? And how can human being facing with that change? Because I'm feel that, there's something big happen. Remember when the internet happened? It's just a small mind. Now it's a big mind under AI. So AI is a million, billion of mind being combined into one. And that's where it's create a huge change in the way people behave, think, do, etc. in the future. I think a lot of panelists already said a lot about change, but to me, in one word, sustainability. How can human being sustainable in the world of AI? How can we ensure that we will be the one who control the world rather than the machine control us? I think it's vice versa nowadays. Now we leverage a lot of AI, data, marketing, so that we can control the mind and behavior of consumer. Who control whom? So that is a bigger thing that I'm thinking about. The second one is about sustainability that we mentioned. It's about the world we are living. So we see a lot of trend that people asking for more, how to make a better, a sustainable place for us to live in. Another one is about the sustainability in the way we define how we live in this world, the meaning of this human being. Is it money still being something that countable? Or is it something else? Happiness, for example. We need to think about that. I think this is something that I leave it to you, because actually to me, that sustainable thinking will ingrain. You are on the big mind of this country and this world. So how can we create a sustainable place for us to live in, to enjoy, and to stay longer on this earth, as long as much as possible. To me, that is the biggest change, shifted from a very materialization world into some world which only being created by us. That's what I think.
Thanks, TOAN. So maybe a good segue into the next topic as we bring it back down to sales and marketing. And I was struck, Anya, by something you said. In theory, there's a lot of marketing experts on this stage, largely experts because of our years of experience.
Not anymore.
But this is I remember when I first worked in China in 1994, In China, there were China experts. They'd been there for 15, 20 years, and they knew China. Suddenly, around that period, every brand launched into China. Between 94 and 96, most of the international brands launched. And China changed between 94 and 98 in a way that no other market in the world has changed since. And the change was unbelievable. And what happened then, the China experts were completely out of date within 6 months. And it was those people with the energy and the inquisitiveness to understand the new China that became the new experts. And that's what's going to happen today in the world of marketing. Not just the young people in this room, but the older people with the energy and the right mindset. The learning that's going to take place over the next few months and years are going to create a new set of experts. So there's a massive opportunity. In a way, there's a democratization of kind of expertise that's going to take place. And, you know, so if we, or all of us, can really become avid learners and really understand these changes, there's going to be a new kind of breed of expertise that's going to be much more evenly distributed, I would argue. So with that in mind, what are some of the big changes that you guys see coming, not just in marketing, but particularly in sales? Because in many respects, the sales area is often neglected, and I see that as perhaps the biggest area of change. Maybe I'll start with you, Griff, if I may.
I mean, so these are big topics. So to be a little bit controversial, maybe starting if I'd go consumer and then we go into retailer, customer, and maybe 2 more points to finish. So from a consumer point of view, I think it's all very well saying we've got lots of change. We do have lots of change. There's also lots that stays the same in a number of categories. So actually the point about how close you are to your consumer and listening to consumers becomes super important. And I think for all of us in the everyday challenges of the day job, all of us can say we don't spend enough time engaged in listening to what's going on in the world out there. And what's amazing is with all the tools we have available to us, with both the speed and relatively cheapness of cost, it enables us to do it very easily. So I think that's point number one. Second point I'd make is actually there's only so much change that we as humans can cope with. We just zone out beyond that. So actually, I have a hunch that from a trend point of view, you will see some reversal as well. People wanting to go back to spend their holidays in digital-free zones, etc. Right? That kind of stuff will happen, which will offer up opportunities. From a sales point of view, I think it's going to be fascinating. And I started in retail, so it's an area that I find super fascinating. I think from a Vietnam point of view, one of the most incredible, mind-blowing things is the fragmentation of the market here, right? Which means that there's so many options, places to shop. So what you will see is, I think, more segmentation by age, and you will certainly see it according to urban and rural increasingly for where people shop. But I tell you, the underlying thing will still be driven by the need of a thing called convenience. So whatever's convenient, people will do. And that will drive habit, or changes of habit, is really largely still around the fundamentals of how convenient is it to me.
I couldn't agree with you more on the convenience point. We talk about brands being meaningful, brands being different, but brands that are easy to access are the brands that win. And we often forget about that in marketing. There's too much obsession on meaning and difference, not enough on making brands easy, convenient, because that trumps everything. Anna, do you want to go next? Sales and marketing, what are the big changes that you see?
I'm representing the category where I think the biggest change is very visible to everyone, yes? The 300 in Vietnam being enhanced significantly in the last, let's say, 6 months is very much changing our category. And after the first shock, because it comes with the shock, then you think about it. The consumer's needs didn't change. So the opportunity is there. You all want to connect. You all want to entertain, and successfully through many years, beer was built as this category to help people entertain in Vietnam. So the need is there. It's just pushing more pressure on us, or maybe more opportunity, how you deliver the same needs, but in different way, yes? And of course, the simplest way is 0-0 beer, yes? But let's be honest, yes, it's growing very fast, it's the easiest way. But there is so many other ways to address the same need state, being the beer category, and I think it just accelerates how quickly, sorry to say, but boring lager beer category in Vietnam comparing to the other markets where it's very diverse category, how quickly the category will have to change. So for me, the biggest change really happening ever in my life in the beer category is the 300 enhancement, because it's with us from 2020, yes, so it's many years. But the enhancement, the speed with which you guys change your behaviors, especially in the first weeks when it started, it's something which really gave us a lot of fuel for our innovation agenda.
Yeah, that's certainly a big change. We often sort of forget about the impact of government legislation on markets. You know, you think of tobacco industry. In many markets, it went dark overnight, so it can have dramatic change. But I think everyone would agree change for good. Because it's very necessary. What about you in the world of FrieslandCampina, nutrition?
I think this morning, GRIFFIN talked about the consumer is ahead of us. How can we catch up? Okay? So there's changes, but it also presents lots more opportunities. We have a group of consumers whose demand for more, ask for more healthy, more eco-friendly, better quality, willing to pay more. We have a bigger group of consumers who's cautious about spending, who wanted to look for alternative, cheaper options. Yeah. Now, those many opportunities, it's really staying focused is also very important. Right? Are we going after every opportunity? Or how are you going to make the decision to go after what that is important for sustainable of your business, sustainable growth of your business, but also stay true to who you are. And then I think we also talk a lot about how consumer change. This morning, we hear retailer media, for example, right? And all this new platform and all this fragmented touch point that create a big impact toward how the consumer engage, aware, how they try, they even repeat trial every day. So it is a very good time for us to look at what we know, is this still valid? The modeling mix that you got 2 years ago, can you still believe it? Can you still use it? Because of all the changing in the landscape today. So, you know, it's our job to constantly look into, okay, this is the data, but how we use that data? How we're gonna make sure that we really try to minimize the wastage and then also looking at optimize our result. That's not gonna be an easy job. I think that's what I'm doing, I'm trying to do every day. And if we talk about sales, right, shoppers at the landscape of all the channels, with all the rise of social commerce, of influencer, there's a report saying that Vietnamese consumer, 30% they trust ad, but 90% they trust influencer. So it becomes more and more important that you cannot avoid. Right? So basically, the consumer touchpoint, all the consumer journey, we have to also have a carefully look at what changed today, and the channel roles. What is actually important that we have to double down, and what is only the noises. So a lot to do, lots of opportunity. Now the hard job is to choose wisely which opportunity you go after.
Yes, yes. What not to do versus what to do. What about you, TOAN? What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree that human beings are the same incarnate. The expression is different. So For example, I think that's in marketing we have a saying that, okay, divided people by 6 to 12, 12 to 19, 19 to 25, 25 to 35, and after 35, don't care about it because they never change. But maybe tomorrow is different because, like you said, yeah, in 2025, Vietnam will come into the state of aging population, okay? It's coming very soon, next year. So it's not that we are not young anymore. Maybe we are younger than other country, but maybe we also enter into aging. That's one thing that the world is now more divided than ever. Why? Because human beings now being liberated, they can lead their own way, and the way the world runs is all about that. Is that correct? However, the more diversified it is, and the more connected it is, it's still being grouped. Now we are not talking about Vietnam anymore. We're talking about group of people who share the same behavior and thinking and value across the world. That's implies the opportunity. So that's where, to me, I think the way we need to do is about everyone talking about personalization. But personalization at scale will be the big change. So don't think about Vietnam anymore. For those who work for a Vietnamese company, think about, try to group your consumer in cohorts. Yeah, because we are similar. A lot of youngsters are the same, whether they are in Vietnam, in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, or Singapore, or US, or something like that. They are the same, okay? Combining with the core needs are the same. The cohorts different is about the expression. And that's where marketing challenge is how to influence a cohort that share the same behavior and thinking and mind, rather than trying to convince someone in Vietnam, okay? It creates a divided marketing strategy, but also it gives a huge opportunity because now you can reach to 1 billion of people. If they are the same group of people, personalized at scale will be the biggest change and biggest solution that we need to do, and we need to think about that as well. And in our industry, luckily, people are human beings. They still need, to eat and drink. So anyway, what we need to do is about to personalize, to bring the need into the next level. Like we are saying, people now are so stressful. We are not happy, especially those people are in this room. You are the least happiness person in this world, okay? Me too. Yeah, we have a lot of money. We are suffering every day. Yeah, is it correct? Yeah, because that's where I think maybe in our industry, it's about evolve the need. Like we normally seeing the Maslow level, it's not about 30 anymore, drinking anymore, maybe some need upscale, maybe fun, maybe something, health and wellness or something. It's something that leverage on the still 5 level of Maslow level, but it's in a different level. Yeah, like in Unilever, Dove is all about self-esteem. It's not about cleaning anymore. I used to work for Unilever for 9 years, so that's the reason why. So that's the reason why, to me, the core needs are the same. The group of customers are divided, but very big group of customers. If you study about brand archetype, but actually human being only 12 kind per people only. Yeah, you do a lot of tests yourself. You see that there are 9 types of people at work only. For example, in Enneagram, so those kind of people, it creates huge opportunity. The only thing for marketing today to cope with change is about how to evolve the expression and how to personalize at scale. So that is the key word for coping with the change today to me in my industry. And I think it's also maybe relevant to other industry as well. And for Vietnamese company, you have a big opportunity.
So I'm going to perhaps use this opportunity to get some advice, because being in the creative agency business, we are arguably facing more change than anybody else. And as we start thinking about, you know, 5-year plan and where we might be going as an agency group in the future, I think there's going to be two things. One is a shift away from helping our clients market their brands and services to actually selling our clients' brands and services. And if I think of Ogilvy, David Ogilvy used to be a door-to-door salesman. He sold products door-to-door, and he had the mantra, "We sell or else." And I think increasingly that's probably the business we're going to be getting into. That is one big change that's going to happen, but the creativity or the type of creative services we provide to clients is going to change enormously. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. If your agency partner was sitting here on this stage with you, I know you are one of our clients, what advice would you be giving to an agency in terms of how they need to change, particularly in terms of creativity? I'll maybe hand that one to James first, to Griff.
Look, I think I would still repeat, just to begin with, what I said in the last answer, which is it still starts with us as consumers. And we should never forget that, because particularly the whole advertising industry, if you can call it that, and I'm talking globally here rather than just Vietnam, we do tend to go off on some big intellectual exercises at times. And actually, it depends what product you're selling, but in most cases, or brand, in most cases, the insight is quite simple. So still, despite all the change and everything happening, that is still fundamental. And then the second thing, which will be remarkably familiar to those of us that have been in marketing for a long time, is still coming from that insight is what is your whole campaign idea, your creative idea, that little light bulb moment, which then comes on to the last point, and it's more around us as leaders. And actually, in this bit of advice, I'm not sure it's me giving you advice or as much me giving myself advice, actually, which is, I think as leaders in the industry, there's kind of two futures. And I'm talking not just agency partners, but I'm talking as branded manufacturers or non-branded manufacturers, which with the overwhelming between AI and data and KPIs and administration and more consumer regulation, et cetera, right? You have one future, which is just complete meltdown and overload. And actually, even if it's not a productivity thing, our people are just quite frankly, excuse my language, going to get really pissed off. Yeah, and then you have a productivity and a creativity issue. Or you have a future where we as leaders are able to tap into tools, which means investment in tools and training, and liberate our organizations so that people, and this particularly applies for creative agencies, have the time, so you're liberating their time to spend time thinking in a creative way. Because actually in the industry, one of the reasons why I think we have become perhaps slightly less creative and imaginative over recent years is slightly about risk appetite, but it's also about the amount of time you have to think up creative ideas. You know, all of us know who here came up with a really good idea when they were under time pressure or performance pressure. The answer is we don't. So anyway, that's a little bit of my thoughts.
Thank you. Anna, what about you? What would you be asking your agency partner to, how would you like them to change?
I just have her opposite of me, yes. I have guys opposite of me, and I don't know what to say now. Yeah, I really think we probably need to redefine what the creativity means today, because we still very much connected, you know, to the comms, advertising. I think where we do need our partners is like end to end, how we connect with the consumers, yes? One of our most successful platforms of the last year is eCoin, yes? Digital currency. It has nothing to do with advertising, let's be honest, yes? But this is the creativity, how you really connect with your consumers on everyday basis. So for me, like, even if our briefs are very much about the integrated commercial planning, very often the job we are getting is very much, you know, traditional long formats and some shorter formats. I think I'm missing this end-to-end thinking, and it's the problem which Heineken is missing across the countries. Yes, this is one of our recognition elements. So I think that's where I think redefining what creativity means. And I think the second element, it's still delivering the content, which is really very sharp and easy to understand and standing out. I need to say that we are today briefing agency at the same time we also brief AI, yes? So we always have 2, 3 different sources from which we are, even when it comes to the packaging, from which we are then moving on. So it's not that we didn't change the way we do. That's why I think that we together need to learn how to operate in this new world. So every brief we give, for example, to the agencies, always have this part calling learning objective. So we need to learn something with this brief together. Do we put enough time while working on this brief to this learning objective? So. But I really think that to win together in the future, we need to learn together and change the way we approach creativity.
I think that point about learning together is really important, because the new world of creativity, nobody knows it. And you learn far more quickly when you learn together. And I took on the role of CMO of Pizza Hut temporarily, only because I wanted to help our agency understand how that business worked. And luckily there was a CEO invited us in, and we learned together, what capabilities we could bring, what capabilities they needed. And that type of partnership, that type of open collaboration is when you learn fastest. So I hope you're right that that's the way we go. Ha, what about you? What about your thoughts on creativity and the challenges you're facing?
I cannot agree with you all on more on whatever creativity we try to deliver. It has to be deep-rooted on the understanding of consumer and customers. Now, I might take it from another angle to talk about this, right? How are we as sort of team leaders from whatever size you are, an agency side, or a client side, a marketer size, how are we going to sort of allow this culture of creativity happens? So basically for me, I believe in leadership mirroring, which means people will look at what you do rather than what you say. If you want creativity, agility, curiosity to happen, then you need to act it. You do need to recognize it. You celebrate it. You embrace it. You spot it. You create the rooms for creativity to happen. You create the room for new ideas, but also prepare your team to accept the setback if it happens. And you build capability around it. You coach, you find people. So, together, I think we can do it. Partnership, going back together.
Excellent. That's encouraging for the future. Client-agency partnerships on steroids. Excellent. TOAN, what about you in your world?
Do you think that your job will be deleted? This is a very big question, especially after I see Sora. Yeah, AI Sora. Yeah. Anyway, because still AI being inputted to get outputted. So the differentiation is not coming out strongly. But I believe one day there can be a greatest creativity that can address your concern on your brand. It's just a matter of time. And I think it's even faster than ever, because all the input for tomorrow is it's running every single satna of time, okay? One part of 1 million seconds. So I think to me, this is a big question that agency need to think about. Because ultimately, creativity more than ever is the utmost important factor, Because in order to be outstanding in the loop of choice, creativity will be the best in getting attention out of your target audience. Because nowadays, instead of 4 steps that I always see from the owner proposal, yeah, delete it. Think about new framework. Just think about 2A, attention and attachment. Yeah, if you don't get attention, you no way can land it your message because they can skip it. If they see your message and they don't feel attached to it, they don't feel emotionally, relevantly, yeah, attached to your message, yeah, delete it. Yeah, that is a critical thing about communication. And to me, think about a new framework in creativity. Yeah, I know creativity always important more than ever because without it, you cannot get attentive because now it's a currency. Yeah, target audience will be the currency. Target audience attention will be a currency. And in order to attach to your brand, it's another bigger thing. And that requires much more creativity. However, the whole framework, the whole transformation need to be reinvented. It needs to be reinvented. Otherwise, your work will be obsolete in one day by AI Sora. Yeah, and that's one more thing that I want to add on is about, it's all about looking at the people as well. You need to tackle science into it. Because today, communication is not about someone relating to your category. They are human beings. So we need to get them into our circle of influence as a human being rather than just a person who relating to your category. That's what I think, yeah.
Okay. Well, look, maybe in the last 10 minutes we switch to the other part of this discussion, which is, okay, given all of these changes in sales, in marketing, in creativity, how do we as leaders take our people with us, take the organization and individual team members? So what aspects of leadership become important? And I want to share with you certainly an approach that we're trying to take at Ogilvy, which is inspired by an old Asian proverb, and that is the lotus flower blossoms in muddy waters. And it's this idea that if you want change in an organization, you need to behaviors drive change. And what shapes behavior are kind of values and mindsets. And if you can spot the people in an organization with the right mindset and values and the right behaviors, then as Ha was saying a moment ago, you recognize them, you celebrate them, and you promote them. They're the lotuses in your organization. And that's, I would argue, the most effective way of driving changes in an organization is to single out those individuals, celebrate, promote, so that others follow. And another critically important piece, I think, in that kind of leadership approach, which I learned from Yum, so KFC and Pizza Hut. They have over 1 million employees around the world, most of whom are on minimum wage. How do you motivate that many people? And they have this thing called recognition culture. And, you know, lots of companies used to go to this Silicon Valley and visit, you know, Google and Facebook and the rest of them. But they also used to go to Yum to understand recognition culture. And that's the idea of when you spot the lotuses, you recognize them with some award, and you make it clear to everybody why they're being recognized, what behaviors, what values, what sort of mindset you're recognizing. So those are a couple of things that we try and do. Can you share perhaps some of the things you're doing as leaders to try and help your organizations transform faster to the new future? Who would like to go first? James, you.
I have a number of my team members here, so I'm going to get a 360-degree appraisal after this with what I'm saying. So be quiet at least, team, until afterwards. No, bad joke. So look, so the first thing, actually, one of the things that Tuan you said was around humans, right? So, and I think this is, so the first thing is, we are very good in the industry at over-talking and exaggerating, okay? And I think in the current situation, of course, all of us have a tendency to do it, and it can be very effective. But I think we probably have reached, in terms of the culture that we're creating, we've probably maxed out on the, everything's changing, it's all, you know, because as humans, we're starting to zone out. And so therefore, I think you get back to the essence of us as leaders, which is as humans, how are we going to connect, both with consumers, which is a little bit more distant, but how do we connect with our teams? And the first part of that is, of course, acknowledging that there's a whole bucket of change going on out there. Actually, for all of us as humans, we can cope with change. The thing that's much harder to cope with is uncertainty. So change in itself isn't necessarily the problem. And I think probably trying to isolate down in your organizations where there's change but we know the direction versus where there's change but it's incredibly uncertain. And those are the pockets which obviously you can metaphorically put your arms around teams, etc., and support and help. But I think also the culture that we create is one which has to be, in the world we're moving into, which we've already used words like collaboration, integration, all the rest of it, the whole traditional structure of leadership with one person at the top giving a load of instructions and it all sort of just happens is clearly garbage. All of us know that. But we probably haven't shifted our own mindsets as much as we should away from that. So you are going to have to create far more autonomy in your own organizations, which means leading by example, which can be really tough, particularly if your own boss is, you know, chasing down for results or what have you, right? So then we're exposed. So how you create that culture in your organization, I think, is very important, which means more risk-taking on our parts. But the reason why, very practically, is we will need to cover more things. But also, you mentioned it, having experience isn't necessarily going to stand us in a good stead for what we need to do. Some of our most junior team members may well be the ones with the answers. That requires a humility that's quite unusual and probably something which will be more important over the next 10 years than the previous 10 years. There's lots we could talk about, but so we hear other people, I'll pause.
Yeah, but if I could pick up on one thing you said, I think it was very interesting. You talked about people can cope with change, but not uncertainty. So there's an onus on leaders to make sure we're not seeding uncertainty.
Correct.
It requires
Set
us
as
to
much
have
consistency.
clarity around vision and direction.
100%
right. Ha, would you like to perhaps comment on this? Your leadership approach, some of the things that you're doing that you think are helping your organization
Allow
change?
me not to talk about myself, right? I think, of course, I think all of us, I think all of us try to be better leader every day. I think one of my beliefs is that the style of leadership that I really feel inspired to, I think it applies to all kind of organization or industry in of course, all the time, every times. Of course, in the era of change, really even more important for me, I believe, to that type of leadership. For me, the leadership can really lead the organization toward dream big, start small, and act fast. So dream big is really about, not about dictating a vision, right, okay, this is what you do, but it's really about setting a very inspiring challenge for the team, but also getting people to understand why we do what we do, inspiring, ignite the passion behind it, get the team together to really start small with all the experiment. Now, you're not necessarily changing the agency toward an ideation machine, but really getting the agency to build the openness for new ideas and start experiment and start learning, test and learn and grow. And act fast is very important nowadays in the era of change. Act fast doesn't mean that you push your team to move faster, but how you are as the leader, that you navigate the organizations, you basically organize and prepare all the resource to help your team move faster. So for me, simply that's what I'm trying to become every day.
I like that thought around, it's much easier to do things to change if you break it down into small changes. And that also, I think, helps you move faster, which is critical. Look, with a couple of minutes left, Anya, could you perhaps share some thoughts, and then we'll let TOAN bring it home, if that's okay. Thoughts on leadership.
My thoughts of leadership. Okay, I think there are two elements. The first one is, you know, as a role model, what kind of leader you are. And I strongly believe that the more uncertainty around us, the most humble leaders we need to be, and recognize that we don't know everything. And often say it in front of your teams, I don't know. I need to learn, I need to explore, and be driven by curiosity to really move on. So I think that's one element. The second one is the culture which you promote in your organization. Yeah? So I think learning culture, we all know learning culture is super important, blah, 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 blah. But how do you really act on it? Yes. We, for example, recognize people with Courage Award. We recognize people on the global level with something what we call success in progress, which means we failed and we need to learn from it, and then how these learnings will move us into the success. And rather than recognizing the successes, we focus a lot also on the learning agenda to make it for people like, especially in the culture like Vietnam, you are guys such achievers, yes? It's all about achievement, contribution. Learning is also the asset. And I think changing this mindset, it is not happening like this and in 1 week. So I think it's a culture which you create to make it happen.
Excellent, thank you, Anya. And TOAN, why don't you conclude with your thoughts?
Change creates fear, is that correct? And we are the most fearful person, okay? Change happens all the time, since the day human beings started their life, okay? Don't worry. It's a fact of life. Don't worry, okay? As a leader, I think it's important that there's something not changed. We need to define that. Like the wisdom of the people in the past, it still lasts for today. The Bible is still right. Is it correct? So don't be panic. Trying to define what are unchanged. For example, in marketing, we are saying about consumer needs are unchanged. Core needs are unchanged. Yeah. The difference is the way they express through behavior, the way they think, the way they do, blah, blah, blah. What we need to change is the change of the expression so that we can do better. The way I get my team to, and today we are talking about purpose. Because we are not the company which only Vietnamese. We are everyone in the world united for one purpose. To me, as a leader, we need to make sure that we have a very strong purpose in mind. Yeah, to me, it is the most important. Create the meaning that we need to go together. Or not, it doesn't make any sense. Because without that meaning, for example, we have good thing, opportunity, we have challenge. For example, we have the challenge about sustainability. Yeah, we go together. The meaning of us is about to create less waste to the world. Okay, it's okay. It's still a meaningful purpose. We need to land it. The second point, I think, is about collaboration that everyone talking about. Yeah, we work with different people with different motivation and different background. How we can live happily together. Because everyone have their deep inside, which is never speak out. And we need to live with that every day. Yeah? And that is, to me, is about empathetic way of doing things, who are trying to collaborate with people with sympathy. Those are the things that normally I trying to be lead my team to. The last one, more than ever, authentic is a currency of tomorrow. If you are not you.
On that note, I've got a time's up there. TOAN, thank you. Panel, thank you very much. Anya, Griff, Tuan, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much to our moderator and panelists for a very interesting panel discussion. So in the end, empathy and compassion is something that AI can't do, right? Thank you.